and welcome, you beautiful bookish people. Today, I'm gonna do a part 2 to my first video of fantasy romance book recommendations based on your mood. And when I say mood, I don't mean like happy, sad, angry, whatever like that. I mean you're in the mood for something specific. Now, if you haven't watched my first video, I'll give you kind of just a recap of it, but definitely go check it out because I highlight some amazing books. The moods that I gave you over there were for obsession, for swooning, for cozy, for a strong FMC with purpose, for lore, for a shadow daddy, and for crying. Now, this time is gonna be a little bit more specific, and I have 5 recs for you today. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first book is going to be When You're in the Mood for High Fantasy. Now, I literally just finished this book the other day, and I don't have a physical copy with me because I did receive an ARC copy, and it comes out on July 29th, and it is called Birth of a Dynasty by Chinaza Bado. I can confidently say I have never read anything like this. It's so cool. It's set in a fictionalized Africa. This story follows Mukuru Mukundi, whose entire family is unfortunately offed by the Zenzele dynasty because of an old prophecy that said the Mukundi and the Namani families have the power to take down the Zenzele, but he's able to escape. He runs away to a nearby village, and he is taken care of by a wise old man who he totally reminds me of Mr. Miyagi. The whole time I was like, I like you, you're fun. But Mukuru is set on exacting vengeance for his whole family, but he's 10 years old at this time, so he's got to do some growing in the meantime. And it also follows Zikora Namani in a different city, same timeline, different city, and she is called upon by the Queen of Akubalin to study / just live in the capital city, basically as a glorified hostage to keep the Namani family in line. And when I tell you that Zikora was my favorite character, oh my god, she was my favorite character. It's multiple POV, it's set in multiple cities, there's political intrigue with really complicated characters that makes it really interesting, and it almost felt like the same level of political intrigue as Game of Thrones. Like, I'm not even lying to you right now, it was so good. The characters were super defined, they had colorful personalities. I really attached to Zikora. She's very like honest to a fault, and everybody's like, oh, you shouldn't have said that, and I totally relate to that because I'm like, I'm a black and white kind of person, like I'm gonna say what I want to say. And the story like starts out so like far apart from each other. I mean, I guess not super far apart from each other, but like as the story goes on, it starts like weave together and then it all comes together in the end. But this is the first book of a trilogy. So this was basically like just the setup. And by the time the book ends, both Zikora and Mukuru are 13 years old, I think. So still, they're like super, super young, but the beginnings of a rebellion is starting. And actually, wait, that's all I can tell you because I don't want to spoil the book. I gave this one 5 stars. It was incredible. It was one of those that I was like, I know this is out of my comfort zone, but I requested the ARC anyway because I was like, I've never read anything like this. I've never read a synopsis of a book that sounds anything like this. And it being pitched as like a Game of Thrones level high fantasy in a fictionalized Africa, I was like, that sounds so cool to me. And granted, like sometimes I don't really agree with publishing companies telling you like, oh, this new book is like this book and this book combined. Like sometimes it kind of ruins it for me, but I didn't know it was marketed as Game of Thrones-esque until after I read it and I was looking at the author's Instagram and going through all the stuff, and I was already feeling those feelings, and then it said this is gonna be basically Game of Thrones. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. If you love epic fantasy, high fantasy, and you just want like a fresh story, this is the one for you. This next book is The Slaying Vampire. No. No. Let's try that again. The next book is Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. Now, if you have been around for a little while, you know that Carissa Broadbent is one of my favorite authors ever. It's gonna be the book you want to read if you are in the mood for a standalone romantasy. Now, that is so hard to find because I feel like a lot of fantasy books, to be good in my opinion, I would rather have multiple books or a longer story because then it gives you time to be with the characters and to actually be invested in the story. There's kind of a stipulation to this. This is a standalone. You can read it without reading anything else by Carissa Broadbent. However, I do recommend reading the rest of the Crowns of Nyaxia series because this is a Crowns of Nyaxia novel, which if you don't know, it starts with the serpent and the wings of night, goes to the ashes and the star-cursed king, and in between there's a little novella that's about like 200 pages, not even, called Six Scorched Roses, which that one is so good as well. And I guess you could, I don't think you could read that one as a standalone because the characters that show up in Six Scorched Roses show up in Serpent and the Wings of Night and Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. And there's gonna be more books in the series. However, this one in timeline order takes place after the Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and it's set in the same world as the Serpent and the Wings of Night. That's a mouthful, dude. But this follows Selena, and she is an assassin, and she is part of sort of a guild called the Arkesim. And basically what that means is they lose their eyes from a young age, but they can still see with a certain sort of magic. So basically they lose their physical sight, but they tap into a power within them that allows them to, I guess, basically see auras, but see more than physical sight could allow, if that makes any sense at all. And she is hired to assassinate a vampire, and he is a very important vampire, but he is actually the leader of an army. So what she has to do is infiltrate this army, make him fall for her, basically learn the information she needs to learn, and then kill him. However, obviously there's romance, obviously things happen, and basically it makes her risk everything she's ever known for this romance, and it is so good. I give this one 5 stars, and honestly, I would not be surprised if we saw these characters in the next Crowns of Nyaxia book, because it takes place in the same timeline, same place, it's just a little bit off, and the land that they're in has been mentioned a few times before in this series. This is technically part of the Mortal Enemies to Monster Lovers, I think. A bunch of different authors did these little standalones in their own little universes, and it's not a series because none of them connect because they're all different characters, they're all different storylines, but they are all standalones, and I think that'd be a good way to kind of get your feet wet with some of these authors and see if you want to continue in this universe, in this series, in their other works if you like this one, because it's short. It's like, it's not even 400 pages, it's not even 350 pages. So it's an easy read, and I ate this one up. So if you're looking for something short and you don't want to really get your feet wet, but you want the possibility of getting your feet wet in a larger series, Slaying the Vampire Conqueror is the way to go. The next book is going to be if you're in the mood for snarky banter, and that is going to be The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Bridget Knightley. That is also a mouthful. This one is also super short. It is the first book in a duology, and basically this is Draco and Hermione. It's not, but Bridget Knightley did write another fan fiction of Hermione on AO3 and has since taken the general idea of that fan fiction, changed the magic and the characters to fit this new story in The Irresistible Urge. And yes, I picked this one up because I was like, oh, it's Hermione inspired, like I'm gonna love it. And I did end up loving it. It wasn't absolutely phenomenal, which I know is gonna sound weird because I'm sitting here recommending this book to you. I rated it 3.5 stars, which if you actually look at that, that's a 7 out of 10. That's like really, really good. The only thing that I couldn't get with was the writing style. It was super sophisticated. I think that's also part of my issues, is I was trying to keep a rhythm while reading, but the big words that were happening and just the overall, I don't actually know how to describe it. It's just very dense with a lot of different vocabulary, but it was so fun. I have never laughed so much in a fantasy book. There was a comedic undertone to this. The main characters were hilariously arrogant. Like, they really actually hate each other. Like, this was true enemies to lovers, and I love that in the slow burn. Like, oh my god, this entire book is just the burning. Not we've gotten to the explosion yet. It's just slowly like there's a spark there and it's being kindled and we're not there yet. So it's gonna be duology, and I'm excited to keep reading. I will tell you that this is not read as quickly as you might think because it is short, but like I said, the writing is a little bit weird to get with. Anyways, let me give you the synopsis. This book follows Orion, who is a healer, and Osric, who is an assassin, and Osric has a degenerative disease that basically attacks his magic, so he can't use his magic anymore. And Orion is a really, really, really skilled healer, and so he is told that the only person that could even attempt to cure him is Orion, but Orion is stuck helping out at the hospitals that she's been around because there's a pox outbreak. So Osric goes to meet her and is like, hey, I really need you to do this for me, and she's like, no, I know who you are, not doing that. And he's like, okay, fine. You need funding for the research that's gonna go into the cure. Here's $20 million to help your research. How about that? If I give you the $20 million, will you heal me? And she's like, I don't wanna do it, but we need the money, so like, yeah, sure. And it basically goes from there, them forming a mutually beneficial relationship. Again, it is so funny. The wit in this is amazing. Their banter is like, it's sophisticated in a way. It's not childish, it's not cringy. It's truly like these are two very, very smart individuals and their sense of humor is top notch. And I had a fun time. So I'm recommending it to you because I know that this book will find its specific audience. I don't think this was written for me, but I still had a fun time. So here you go. The next book is going to be When You're in the Mood for a Fantasy with a Hint of Mystery. This is Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. I also did a reading vlog on this one titled, Can You Trust the Recommendations Book Talk Gives You? Now, if you want to pause right now, go watch that vlog and find out what my final thoughts are before I spoil it for you right now. I'll give you a couple seconds. Okay, you back now? Did you have so much fun? Okay, I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. I had such a good time with this one. For those who didn't go watch the vlog, I will give you a little bit of a synopsis. This book follows Odessa, and she is a princess in a land called Quentis. And when this book starts, the prince from a land called Tura comes down to Quentis because Quentin, I think is what it's called. Quentis, the king from Quentis would be Quentin. Yeah, the Quentin King asked for their help slaying these monsters. And in this universe, there's a lot of different kinds of monsters because a long time ago, the gods were like, hey, you need to be kept in check. So they sent a bunch of different weird creatures on the planet. And so there was a problem in Quentis with these monsters. And so they enlisted the help of the Prince of Tura and is like, hey, you need to come down. You need to bring your warriors. You need to help slay these monsters. And he's like, great, I will do that, but I require a bride prize. Now, this is where the name of the book comes in. There's something called the Shield of Sparrows, which basically is a treaty between all of the lands of their continent to basically keep the peace. And by keeping the peace, they have to offer a princess to a prince of another land every other generation or every generation. I forget which one it was, but they have to offer a princess to be married. So basically, it's just a marriage alliance, right? And all her life, Odessa has not been the sparrow. Her sister has been training to be the sparrow, to be wed to the Prince of Tura. But he comes down and he's like, no, Odessa, I want you. And she's like, you can't have me. That's not my job. And they're like, too bad, so sad. If you don't listen, then your father's gonna die because he signed the Shield of Sparrows. And if you break the Shield of Sparrows, there's a really old magic that's gonna make him die. So she's like, oh crap, okay, I gotta go. And before she leaves, her dad's like, hey, actually, I need you to spy on them for me. That's what I was training your sister to do this whole time. She's like, great, crash course. So she goes to this land and she's trying to spy on them, learn a bunch of stuff. And obviously there's a lot of other things happening that she doesn't know about. And this started out like really slow. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this probably could have been 100 pages shorter, but you don't really know that there's sort of a mystery going on until she gets to Tura and you're starting to have a few things introduced. And she's like, wait, I actually have to find out what all that means. We have to figure out a problem with that because everybody's being super cryptic about it. Nobody can talk about it. And it's really interesting when everything comes together at the end. There's enough questions answered to make it satisfying, but enough left unanswered that 2 books that are gonna be after this, it's gonna be a trilogy. I can kind of see where they're going. So I hope that it kind of goes in that direction and we get some even more answers questioned. No, even more questions answered. But the romance in this one was also really, really good. The characters were phenomenal as well. I really, really liked the main character's development because at the beginning, she kind of starts out like a little bit helpless. And there's a point where she's like, okay, I'm actually gonna take initiative and do something about this because this is ridiculous. And I really like reading stories where the girls start out like they don't know how to hold a sword. They're not an assassin. They're not all of these things. But she's like, okay, no, I want to learn. And she actually learns and grows to be this powerful, formidable woman. And then you have a really handsome guy that comes along and says, oh, I like you. And it's just delicious. I would not at all really put it in the mystery genre. But when I mean at the beginning, like it's a sprinkle of mystery in there. I enjoyed that a lot because the plot was really, really good. Like, you take out the romance, the plot can still stand. And I'm just so fascinated with this world. I want to know what's going on. I'm completely invested, and it was a great time. The last book that I'm going to give you as a recommendation is going to be if you need fantasy with a sprinkle of romance, and that is going to be The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Now, this was another one that really didn't seem like it was going to be up my alley, even though I've read One Dark Window also by Rachel Gillig, and I loved it. I gave the first one 4.5 and the second one 5 stars. I gave this one 5 stars. I ate this up so much, guys. It was atmospheric. It was a little bit gothic, a little bit of darkness sprinkled in there. There's an interesting system with the gods. I had such a good time. It felt so unique, and if you've ever read Rachel's writing, you know it's very beautiful and very descriptive, and she's very intentional about how she describes things, and even where she writes the scenes. I feel like, oh, this is gonna be a big word, but I feel like the juxtaposition between some of the characters, how they look, how they dress, and where they are, it's beautiful. You're not gonna understand what I'm saying until you see, until you read, but it was just incredible. The Night and the Moth is about a girl named Sybil, but she goes by 6 because she is one of 6 diviners at Eileen Cathedral. So that basically means she was taken in when she was really, really young and told that she would be taken care of, her life would be set if she came to be a diviner at the cathedral, which basically means she has a special power to commune with the gods, the omens in this world, and give people prophecies. And to do this, they have to drown in a magical spring, and like legitimately drown, like they die every time they do this. But it's obviously a very traumatic experience. It's not fun. The woman that's in charge of them really reminds me of Mother Gothel, but let's actually get back on track. So she is one of 6 of those diviners, and one by one, her other sisters go missing, and she's like, what the crap's happening? So she enlists the help of a certain knight that came to visit the town with his king to get his king a prophecy. And he is like, hey, I'm gonna take you and your sisters out on the town. You can like explore the world. And now here's the thing, they don't actually remember their life before they came to work at the cathedral. So they're like, yeah, it's a good idea. And so they go out, they have a fun time, whatever, and then more sisters start disappearing, and she's like, hey, actually, I need your help to find them. I need your help to find out what's going on. And it goes from there. She gets to experience a whole new world. A whole new world. A whole new world. Anyways, the knight in this, Roderick, oh, the yearning in this, oh, the romance, oh. And here's the thing, this is my recommendation for fantasy with a sprinkle of romance. This plot could totally stand on its own without the romance. Honestly, I enjoyed it so much. It doesn't necessarily need it, but I enjoyed it. It was just a nice addition to the story, but this is so intriguing. Like I said at the beginning, it's really unique. And the way the magic works had like my mind spinning for the first like 100 pages-ish, because I was trying to figure out how all this was going. But when we get answers towards the end, it was like, oh, okay, all of this makes sense, and it was really satisfying. This is going to be a duology, which I'm actually glad about that. This doesn't need to be any longer than a duology, as much as I enjoyed it. I feel like Rachel's writing is succinct enough. Like, she says what she needs to say, and then she moves on. But the way that she says things is beautiful. So I would definitely recommend picking this one up. That is all I have for you today, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. If you want some more recs and you want specific recs from specific moods, let me know in the comments what you would like to see, and I will do my best to find a book that matches it. But I will see you next time.